Hey guys, we're going to learn about dynamics today. So let's jump right into our objectives for today. We're going to define dynamics. We're going to discuss how musicians use dynamics. We're going to look at how dynamics are shown and notated in music, what they look like in music. We're going to listen to a piece and we're going to listen for how dynamics are used in that piece. So, what are dynamics? Dynamics are the volume or the loudness and softness of the music. In physics, volume and sound is measured in decimals, but musicians were not that particular, and we don't use decimals to measure dynamics. Usually, unless you have a lot of electronic equipment, then they use decimals to make sure they don't blow out the speaker and things like that. But in general, at this level in middle school, high school, we don't use decimals to measure dynamics and volume. Musicians, like us, we use dynamics, the loud and softness, how they relate to each other. We measure them in relativity. They're how they are relative to each other. Musicians do not have a standard which makes piano equal X number of decimals. We measure piano as being much softer in volume than a forte. And we measure forte as being loud and piano as being soft, and forte as being softer than fortissimo, which is very loud. So there's that. And here is all of that laid out in a nice little chart. So they have the abbreviation and then that column. That's what the symbols look like that will actually be in your music. So we have the double P, which is pianissimo, which is very soft. We have a single P, which is piano, which is just soft. We have MP, which is mezzo piano, which is medium soft. And mezzo means middle or medium. So medium loud, medium soft. Mezzo forte, medium loud. MF, mezzo forte, medium loud. Then we have single F, which is forte, which is loud. We have double F, which is fortissimo, which is very loud. And with fortissimo and pianissimo, you keep adding an EC in the middle for every added P or F. So sometimes composers get really nutso and they have like 6 P's for your pian, EC, So you just keep adding an EC for as many letters there are. So if you have 3 F's, it's fortissimo, which is very, very loud. And then the greater than, less than looking symbols are crescendo, which is gradually louder, and decrescendo, which is gradually softer. So you can see those. And the double P and it's all about relationship. So like double P to MP, so if you had a piece and like the loudest marking was MP, that would be like the loudest you would sing. And that would be your loudest point. So that might be as loud as you can sing, even though it's still mezzo piano, as long as you went down to very, very quiet in the pianissimo section. It's all just about relative and relationship, how the dynamics are working together over the entire piece. So in context, we're going to look at how the dynamics are in this piece. So right here, I didn't circle this one. My bad. This starts out pianissimo, so very, very quiet. So let's say that's like level and we'll say that's level 1. I'm sorry. This is level -1. This is level 1. And then we go through and we go through and we have a decrescendo, so we go back down to pianissimo, maybe. And then so we go back down to level -1 in volume, level. That's what we're just using for this example. And then we're going through, having fun, and then we go decrescendo again. So we can't just keep getting quieter. Well, we could, but that wouldn't be as fun to listen to. So we're assuming in here somewhere you have to employ your musicianship skills and assuming that we crescendoed in here somewhere. And just because dynamics aren't written in every single measure, it doesn't mean that we don't use dynamics all of the time. Musicians always employ their musicality skills, and you always add more dynamics than are written in. What's written in is always just a basic guideline, just of what the composer wants generally over the entire piece. But you add other dynamics in as you see them fit, as you're interpreting the piece for yourself. So continuing, here we have a decrescendo, and then so we go back down to level, say, -1 at pianissimo. Then here we have a crescendo all the way up to a più forte, which means più means more, so more forte. So let's say that's level 3. And then over here we have mezzo forte. So that's, say, level 2. So we're going to have a decrescendo in here. So that's probably in this measure. We have a decrescendo down to mezzo forte. And then we have another written decrescendo here all the way back down to piano. So let's say so we've gotten a level 3, and then we decrescendo to level 2, and then we decrescendo again to level 1, and then we go through here and we decrescendo again down to level -1. So that's just kind of how musicians look at dynamics in a piece and interpret them and how they would think about the dynamics. And they would add more where they're not written, maybe a little bit decrescendo, crescendo action in there. So, here's another example. This is for Elise by Beethoven. This is a little excerpt of it, and you can try to find the dynamics where they're written in, if you can see the symbols. And look at that. There they are. So we have a pianissimo, and then we have a crescendo decrescendo, and we have another crescendo decrescendo. Now, crescendo decrescendo, which is gradually louder and gradually softer, that's all over the place in music. And when in doubt, use this dynamic duo of crescendo decrescendo because it creates a very nice tension and release, a rise and fall feeling that is very pleasant for the listener and the audience, and it makes the music sound very expressive and beautiful. Alright, so we have a nice listening example. This is where we're going to use our ears and try to listen for all of the dynamics. And keep in mind, can you hear the different dynamics? Where are they? Can you describe what the dynamics are doing over the entire piece? And what are the dynamics? I'm going to be shouting out kind of what's going on a little bit just so you can kind of wonder like, oh, is that this? Oh, I don't know. I'll just shout it out a little bit over the time when you're listening to it. Starts about MP, mezzo piano. Crescendo. Mezzo forte. Decrescendo. Crescendo. Forte. Decrescendo. Forte, mezzo forte. Forte. Decrescendo. Mezzo piano. Crescendo. Crescendo. Sforzando. Pianissimo. Mezzo piano, decrescendo. This is a large crescendo all the way to the end. To fortissimo. So there you go. There's a nice listening example. So, we can listen to music and you can find the dynamics and listen for the dynamics and know what they're called in the specific Italian terms. So what? So why do musicians use dynamics? What's the big deal with dynamics? Why is my choir teacher constantly telling me to add more dynamics to my music? Musicians use dynamics, and dynamics are important because dynamics add contrast and expression to the music. They make your music sound much better because it's not just monotone and staying at the same volume, at the same level, sounding like a robot all of the time. It gives you more expression, and they make the music interesting to listen to, and it's fun. Dynamics are fun. It's really fun to have a large fortissimo at the end of a song and to like have a forte and then go all the way down to a piano really quickly. Dynamics are just fun and they make the music interesting. What we did today, overview. You can see we defined dynamics, which is the volume, the loud, soft of the music. We discussed how musicians use and define dynamics. Dynamics are relative. We looked at the musical notation of dynamics. That's all the MP, MF, how the symbols are going to look in your actual music. And we looked at dynamics in a few piano excerpts of music. And we listened and identified dynamics in a piece of music and Sing a Song of Sixpence. And we said, so what? Why? Overarching, why do we ever use dynamics? And it makes the music interesting, and dynamics add contrast and expression to the music. Go use dynamics and add interest and expression to your music. Woo!